Now, yesterday, the Prime Minister announced schools will stay open for the foreseeable future. For now, that is. That's what the CMO said as well. Now, with our children's education at risk, experts are calling on parents to maintain learning continuity at home. Here to teach us how to homeschool our kids is Chief Learning Officer at Cluey Learning, Dr. Selina Samuels. Selina, great to have you on the show.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Well, look, as this threat of school closures looms ever closer, what learning supplies should we have prepped for our kids at home?
Look, I think the first thing is books. Books are very important. If you can, get some books from the library, although I know a lot of libraries are closing. A visit to the bookshop, again, if they're open. But e-books are terrific, so there are lots of opportunities to access reading materials. And it may be an upside of this particular terrible situation that there'll be much more time for everyone to read, so it's a bit of an upside. In terms of materials like stationery, I wouldn't rush out and get a lot of stationery. It's actually more useful to repurpose what you have in the house. It's a very good educational and cognitive process to take something very familiar and think of different things to do with it. It also teaches children about sustainability, which is useful. In terms of science experiments, the kitchen and all the ingredients in the kitchen are always a great place to go. Even just cooking, it's a great basic bit of chemistry. It also teaches kids to follow ingredients. So don't rush out, don't stockpile. I do not want to be responsible for a sudden rush on pens.
Yeah. Stationery, that's the last thing we need. Yeah, well, my kids and I, we made a puppet out of recyclable material yesterday, so that's a good little activity.
Crushing this.
Well done.
Yeah, but I mean, look, getting kids to focus on their work can be a struggle at the best of times. So how can we avoid, when they're in isolation, that feeling that they're just on holidays?
Look, very important question. The advice out there is pretty much consistent and it's good advice. It's about having structure, consistent structure for every day. I recommend start at the time that they start school. They'll still get a lie-in because there's no commute, but start at the same time. Keep your morning routine as much as it has always been. Make sure that everyone, including yourself, including your children, that you're out of your pyjamas, you're in clothes, you've had your breakfast, you cleaned your teeth. Some schools are saying that children should wear their school uniforms to study. That might be a bridge too far, but definitely not pyjamas. Also, look, it's important to have a delineation between where you're going to do your work, so your school space and the rest of the house. Even if you're using the kitchen table, clear it of debris so that it's a focused learning space. Don't eat while you're learning. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be fun. Try and keep the fun going, because if you're having fun, the brain releases more dopamines, associates positive thoughts with learning, and all of that is good. And by the same token, if there's conflict or stress, take it away from where you're working and resolve it in a different space, because you don't want it to be a negative space.
So I started doing this this week, and I found it really positive to have a structure and to have like a little school desk there and all that sort of stuff. The thing that freaked me out, if you don't mind me saying so, is that I'm not a teacher and don't tell my kids this, did not do well at school. So what are the basic techniques that some of us out there can have to help educate our children? Because when my son said, let's do maths, I sweat.
Grade 4 maths.
I sweat through that really badly.
Look, okay, for a start, no parent finds it easy to teach their own children, not even teachers. So you're not alone. There are lots of people in the same boat. That's important to remember. Sometimes getting children to teach you what they're learning, so particularly if schools are going to start sending material home, get them to teach you. Get older siblings to do some teaching of younger siblings. It helps embed what they've learned in the past. It builds up a sort of rapport. There are lots of resources out there in the world. I know that lots of galleries and museums have put their collections online. There are movies, there's YouTube. But use this judiciously. Watching a lot of material positions you as a passive consumer of content, and education is about actively engaging with material.
Sure.
So whatever you watch, get your child to do something, to write a little story about it, to teach you about it, to do a presentation, because that will lay down the neural pathways for remembering and for learning. It also means that you can give them feedback on what they've done. Feedback's really important. Give feedback on process, on effort, not on outcome. And don't protect children from making mistakes. I think parents are very reluctant to sort of say, well, you got that wrong. Important to give them feedback so that they can learn from their mistakes. That's all very important.
Well, on that note, you've done a very good job this morning. Well done.
Is it wrong that I put all my kids in detention in the first week? Anyway, I'm out of here.